Hey there, fam. How's it going? And welcome to an episode of the Monday Motivation. Trying something a little different for you guys. Different lighting setup, different screens. We're just testing some things out, right? We're making some progress, making some moves. It's 2024. We got some new things on the way. So this is just, we're testing out to see what we like best. But this word that I want to drop off today is one that I cannot wait. I cannot wait to share with you guys because there's one that God's been working with me for a while, and he just pretty much like the other day, on the weekend, we just really cemented the title and then what I really wanted to talk about, delineate what today was being talked about today. So I titled today, What Comes First? Yeah, so if you're taking notes, if you have a title for today, that's what today is. What comes first? And the reason for that was when God gave me that title, along with that came this little phrase, right? Which was, what comes first? Your wants, ideas, or God's purpose for your life, right? Are we out here just going and like, Lord, I want to do everything you want me to do, but only if it suits me here. Only if it kind of lines up with my weekend plans. Like I'll go to church, I'll serve, and I'll do what I have to do for you, but only if it kind of lands in the schedule that I want, that I've set out, right? When it's convenient for me, that's when I'll go and I'll start serving you. And we can't do that, right? Because when God gave this to me, it was, how can I put this in an easy way? I'm not saying it wasn't the ideal time, but I was at the gym. I'm here just lifting, right, working out, and don't get me wrong, God speaks to me in all different places. But I'm at the gym, I'm here just thumping out to some hardcore good music, and then this comes up. What comes first? And I was like, what? And I talked about this too. This is not the first time God decides to talk to me at the gym. Maybe it's because I'm strength training. I don't know what it is, whatever. But I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, I'm gonna need you to finish this up and start writing. I was like, okay. So I started writing up, and he gave me a bunch of different words, which will be brought out, later throughout the year. But what stuck out was what comes first. Do I want to go and sit down for a couple hours, just read and study? I did not. I wanted to go work out, go home, maybe put a movie on, and just relax. But what comes first? What I want or God's purpose in my life, right? And as he started developing that, he started then leading, which I'll be talking about on Wednesday, to give you a sneak peek. It's about leadership. But he then brought me to the line of, what if God calls you to be someone's number two? Now, I don't know about y'all, but me, I like to think of myself that I like to go and be the first one into something. If there's something to do, I want to go and wake up early and knock it out, whatever it might be, right? But with that comes a certain level of okay, I'm gonna be first, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, right? And it's not a level, it's not comes from a place of ego, it's comes from a place of, I just wanna get it done, right? I wanna go knock it out. I played sports for a very big portion of my life. It's kind of like those things where if you guys played sports, you would understand this kind of metaphor, which, games on the line, let's say for basketball, you got 3 seconds left, down by 2, give me the ball. Or for baseball, right? Ball in the ninth, bases loaded, you're up at bat. You know what? I want to be the one at bat. I want to be the one that goes and put the pressure on my shoulders to knock it out forward. But then God dropped this into my life. What if you're called to be someone's number two? And when he dropped that, he brought me to this, which it's in Matthew 20:16, which is the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Right? You might be thinking, oh, so what? I can't go after nothing? No, go after, get after, do what you have to do. But what God is saying there is, if you go and try to live an egocentric life of me, if you go that way, God is saying that the first shall be last. Because of your ego, it's going to drop you down. It's going to drop you down a peg. And the last shall be first, right? It's important to be humble in what you're doing. I'm not saying don't go after. I'm not saying have an attitude of just full sending it. But know that it's not a me thing. It's a we thing. Right? It's always a team effort in everything you do, whether it's in sports, whether it's in your finances, with you and your spouse, or if it's a company, you have a team of people, you have a council that you guys get together to move the team forward, move the company together. right? Because if you just focus on the one person, then it's all egocentric. You're all ego driven. And then people start splitting off, right? And we don't want that. We don't want that to do that at all. Because, and I put that in one of my notes, everyone wants to be first and get in the glory. Everyone wants to be like, oh yeah, like, you know, I was a star, you know, I got the touchdown to win the game, you know, I knocked it out, made the last basket. Everyone wants to do that, but they don't want to put in the work. Or they want to go and they want the big fancy lights, they want all the, you know, the glory from it, but they can't go and humble themselves and just do something quietly. Maybe God is not telling you to post it. Maybe God is not telling you to go and tell everybody about it. Maybe God wants you to go to that person quietly and be like, hey, listen, God told me this, and that. I want to, you know, sow this seed into your life. Or, hey, you know what? I want to do this for you and privately. Like, are you seeking the stage or are you seeking God's glory? That's one right there. Because if you're seeking the approval and the validation of everybody else, you're always going to be in a position of for lack of a better word, like a position of weakness, because what you're drawing from is something that you can control, and you can't control a lot, but God can. So if you go and you put your foundation on God, you put your foundation on His Word, and you let Him guide you, again, it becomes a we thing, not a me thing. It's like, all right, God, what should we do next? All right, God, you know, how should we proceed with this? All right, you know, Father Lord, help me go and deliver this message clearly. Help me go and speak to this, you know, to these people, to that coworker, to that friend, to that sibling, whatever it might be. Help me make this appropriate. And help me package this in an appropriate manner so it doesn't come off brash. It doesn't come off like it's just a me. You know, it's about the ego. And when you do it that way, you let God lead you into doing that, it comes off a lot smoother. It's a little easier to do that. Now, a part that was interesting was he then brought me to the story of Elisha and Elijah, right? And well, that's actually found in 1 Kings 19:19. The whole thing is, you know, 1 Kings 19, but I'm going to focus on the verse 19, because it's where Elijah goes and God told him, hey, you're going to go and you're going to name the next prophet, your successor, Elisha. So he goes over to Elisha and he takes his coat off and he puts it over Elisha. Now, mind you, Elisha's in the field with 11 oxen pulling like a trough, right? They're tilling the ground, and he himself is pulling one of them. So until there's 12. Excuse me, there's 12 of them. And he throws his garment over him. And back then, that was a sign of saying, hey, listen, what's on me is now going to be put upon you. And Elisha was like, okay, for sure, awesome. Let me run back to my parents and tell them. So he's like, so Elijah was like, it's easier in Spanish, but whatever. We'll stick to English right now. He runs over to his family and kisses them goodbye. He tells them like what's happening. But he did something very interesting. He went and he slaughtered the ox that were there, and he broke the yokes and the tilling, you know, equipment, and created wood and created a fire to feed his family. And as I started digging deeper into it, the way that my study Bible broke it down was his way of destroying his old life and moving on to the next. What if God is telling you to go, and mind you, this is all Elisha knew. He was a farmer. He was up, in the tilling the ground. And for Elijah to just throw a covering over him, maybe let's put that into 2024. What if someone approaches you, or God calls you and tells you, hey, listen, you know what? This is going to be the new steps in your life. I want you to open up a church. I want you to, let's not even go that far. Hey, I want you to go and open up a small group, right? And invite some people, meet up at a Starbucks, meet up at a Chick-fil-A, meet up at a park, whatever, and start leading a small group. And you're like, well, hold on, Lord, like, I work at an office. Like, I do office work. I don't know anything about going and preaching and giving word. That's fine. I'm going to teach you. If you follow me, I'm going to show you. So he did that. And it was interesting because never once did Elijah tell Elisha how long he'd be doing this for. He just told him, hey, God told me to anoint you, to go and give you this because you're going to be my successor. You're going to go and be after me. Once I leave, you're going to be the next one in line. He didn't tell him, hey, listen, you can do a 2-year internship, go learn these laws, master this and master that, and then you'll be all set. No, he said, here, follow me. Now, Elisha had to be patient. Elisha could have been like, well, time out. Like, how do I know what I'm going to do next? Like, how do I even know that you're going to succeed? Because mind you, back then they lived for a very long time. He could, was he like, is it going to be a year? Is it going to be 2 years? How long is this process? He's like, okay, cool. God told you to do this. He believed in the prophet. He believed in Elijah, and he believed that God was leading him. So he's like, all right. So when you find yourself a good leader and you trust him, you're like, you know what? I'm going to give it all I got, full send times 10. When you do that, you place yourself in a very special position, because then you allow yourself to be used by God in any way that he wants you to be. Whether it's, again, speaking to a small group, whether it's leading, a ministry, whether it's opening up a church, whether it's, going and speaking to your coworkers. Maybe you're at work and, you're that person, you're that difference that, helps keep the core people, it helps keep people just like grounded. That's a good way of putting it. Keeps people, stay grounded. Maybe it's a stressful situation wherever you're at, whatever you do for work. And you're able to find, because God's giving you that insight, and because you're allowing yourself to be used by God to be, to be that comfort, to be that peace, right? Now, this one, I talked about it a few podcasts ago. It is a story about Joseph and Pharaoh, right? And it's in the part I'm going to focus on is in Genesis 41. But we'll follow all the way down to chapter 41, verse 41, right? Where Pharaoh makes, Joseph the leader of pretty much the second hand to him. And when God brought that to me, and I'm quoting something that I had from before, was they might have the platform, but you have the anointing, right? So Pharaoh was the king. Pharaoh was the ruler of that land, right? So he had the platform, but Joseph had the anointing. Because of Joseph, that whole nation was saved. Because of Joseph, and because God was speaking through Joseph, they were able to go and save, in the grain for the time that's going to be, limited for in Spanish it goes la vaca flaca, which means like, time of famine, time where it's going to be hard times. So maybe God is placing you, maybe God is placing you to be someone's right-hand man, someone's right-hand woman, to go and be used to guide, the people that have the platform. Maybe you're supposed to go and be there, not to go and lead all these great people and to make these like massive movements, but to go and be someone's right hand, be like, hey, listen, you know what? I'm gonna be good counsel to you, and then lead them, right? Maybe your calling is not to do like this, this massive outreach. Maybe it's calling you to schedule it or to create it. Now, I want to sit here for a second, because that can be kind of controversial. You'd be like, well, Rods, right? The Bible says I'm heads and not tails, above and not beneath, right? But it takes, and I'm going to be careful how I say this, it takes a certain level of maturity to understand your time and your place, right? Everyone is called to do something. It gets difficult and it gets tricky when you try to do something you're not called to do. Because maybe God has outfitted that person to go lead the company, lead this, lead that, or whatever at this time, because they've gone through a process already, because they've learned already certain things, right? And now you're in the prep season, like I've talked before. You're in this prep season where you're learning the ins and outs, right? You're watching, you're being vigilant, you're taking notes. Okay, wow, they do it that way. That's cool. They do it that way. And we take notes here. They use those kind of lights. They use that kind of wording. They use that to study. Perfect, right? And because you're so close to that person, to that lead person, you're able to see certain things. You have certain level of communication, certain level of access to, whatever it might be, right? To whatever leadership that you fall under. And if you go and waste that, right? Waste that opportunity, maybe then that will then delay God promoting you to be number one somewhere else, right? Maybe, and I use this like as a church, right? You have your pastor and you're learning, bam. And you feel like you're called to be a pastor too. You're learning through the schools, you're going through all the fundamental classes and you're leveling up, perfect. Now you go, let's say you graduate from the institute, from whatever, Bible college that you went to. And now you're like, oh, well, I learned everything, time to go. Well, no, you still have to be under someone. You still have to learn the tricks and the trade. You still need to learn, how to do certain things, how to manage these people, how to manage this, how to manage that. But because you go and you get so excited, like, oh, I know everything, I can just dip and not honor the people you've been serving, the people you've been under, well, then now you maybe try to go by yourself and that fails. And God doesn't want to see you fail, but if you do it out of time, out of his time, Like, what do you think is going to happen, right? And which leads me to my second one, which is quite interesting, which is, well, my third on this point. 2 Kings 5, 1-13, right? And it's about the servant of Naaman, Naaman, Naaman. Down below, how do you guys say it? Naaman, we'll put Naaman. So Naaman was this big commander, right, this army, and he had leprosy. So he goes and he writes to his king, hey, listen, like, you have leprosy. And one of his servants, one of the king's servants, had a woman, that his wife, had a female servant, right? And the female servant was an Israelite. And she's like, well, you know what? Like, I know that my king over there in Israel, that he can do massive things. So Naaman's like, all right, for sure. Hey, my king, can we figure something out? So that king, of Naaman went and wrote him a letter, sent to king of Israel. Well, the king of Israel got upset and he tore his robe and he's like, hold on, like, what do you mean? Like, you think I'm God? You think I'm a man? I'm just a man. You think I can't raise someone else up? That's not me. Why are you looking at me? So now Elisha, we're going to go a little bit into that one. So Elisha has now been promoted, right? If you know the story, Elijah got picked up in the chariot of fire. But Elisha is now there and he heard about this. And he's like, oh, send him my way. I'll help him out. So Naaman goes out there with his big old people with chariots and courts and horses, and they go out to see Elisha. So when he gets to the area, he gets to the vicinity of where Elisha's at. Elisha sends his servant out, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, tell him to hop in the Jordan, dip 7 times, and he can get out." Now, mind you, Naaman is a man. Like, he has some talent behind him. He has some accomplishments. He's a mighty commander. He leads all these people, and he's like, time out. You're sending your servant, your messenger, to tell me this? You can't even face me and tell me that? He's like, nah. So he gets upset, right? He's like, oh, we have so many beautiful rivers and valleys and oceans where I'm from, but you want me to go in the Jordan River, which is like nothing. If you've ever been to over there, it's nothing crazy. It's nice, but it's nothing like, whoa, out of this world. So he's like, nah. So he goes to turn around, he goes to leave. But Naaman's servant goes, hey, sir, if he would have asked you to do something crazy, like, paint yourself in red and run around this specific tree and eat a banana and then, catch 2 birds and cook them over this fire, you'd have done it, right? If it was something crazy, you'd have done it. If it's something simple, why can't you just do that, right? And how many times do we go and overcomplicate things that God tells us to do when God just says, start serving? Like, you're trying to think, Lord, but how am I going to do that? Like, how am I going to get the finances to travel to this place and do that and open up this? And God's like, just start serving. Be an usher on Sundays. Help out in the parking team, right? Take a first step forward. You do that, and then let me start providing for you. It might be as simple as, Lord, hey, I need this. Can we help me out? Like, what can we do next? And what if God's like, oh, you're behind on your mortgage? That's perfect. And he just sends a brother or sister and goes, hey, you know what? God told me to do this. Bam. And they give you, that money. It can be as simple as that. Well, Naaman, he was good. He's like, you know what? All right. So he dipped himself 7 times, in the Jordan River. When he came out, his skin was like baby skin. It was pretty much brand new. Now, if it was something as simple as that, right? Imagine if the servant never spoke up. Right, if the servant was like, well, the big man, my leader told me that he wants to leave, he's angry, I'm going to head out. If he never spoke up, if that number 2 never went and spoke to number 1, was like, hey, if I was you, I'd just listen to him, right? Then Naaman would have gone, leprosy would have died, it been bad. And leprosy is no joke. It's not something you can mess with because it's painful, it's ugly, it's just bad, right? And back then you're also casted out to, you were pretty much disowned. So that's a whole different topic for another time. But what I really want to get at is the importance of number 2s, right? And I saw a quote that was really interesting. It's like, your day 1s are important, but so are your day 2s. In your day 1s, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase what that quote said, because actually a video, your day 1s are those people that knew you since you were little, right? They've known you, they've seen you, through the struggle, they've seen you grow up, they've known you from when it was bad to now you're doing good, right? So from your old life to your new life. Bam, they've stuck by you. They're super important. But your day 2s are very important too. Because those are the people that now that you've elevated, now that you've gotten out of that mess, now that you're at a different level, now you're just firing on all cylinders. Those people around you, that God's placed around you, are trying to build you up from here onto that next step. So your day ones are important. Don't get me wrong, those are very important. You want to keep them close. Those people are like that stick by you through thick and thin from the very beginning. But those day twos are also very important because they now see where you're at now and want you to do better. Right? They now are in the different circles. So the first one, maybe, you grew up in a bad neighborhood. Maybe you grew up, not even a bad neighborhood. Maybe you grew up just, you're the first one in your family to go to college, right? You're the first one to open up a business, whatever, right? And you get those day ones. They were with you when you were working out of, your garage, and now you have a massive warehouse. Well, now you're doing worldwide, distributions. Well, now that company you're in, all those people are on the level of the worldwide distributions. They have something to offer. So you have to take those day two and be like, okay, you know what? How can we maintain this? And from this, not just maintain, but then upgrade and level up, right? So your day ones are important, but let's not forget about the day twos, right? So that's really what I want to bring for you guys today. That was something that, God definitely put upon my heart. Like I said, the title is What Comes First? Your pride, your ideas, your concepts, your timeline, or God's purpose in your life, what God really wants to do in your heart. That's a really important part, because if we allow God to go and move where he wants to move, where he wants us to be at, right? A big prayer that I've always said is, Lord, you know what? Keep me hungry for it. Keep me motivated. Keep me just full sending it. But most importantly, keep me sensitive to your voice and help me stay disciplined to know when to move, right? Let it be your will, not my will be done. Why? Because if I try to do it, I'm gonna mess it up. So when we allow God and we stay sensitive to his voice, so when he speaks, hey, you know what? He gives you that gift of discernment. Hey, I wouldn't go that way. You know what? I wouldn't do business with them. You know what? I would start, cutting that thing off. I would start, not going down that path. When you allow God to do that, and maybe, again, it might be something as, hey, you know what? For now, you're in the season of just serving that person. Your time will come to branch out by yourself. But for now, you need to be number two. You need to be good counsel and not be jealous, right? You're seeking God's glory and not the glory, the fame, the glory of man. Because when you seek God first, when you seek his approval first, everything else falls into line. Yeah? Hopefully that has made sense. I love you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of these talks. Hopefully this is a good one. Hope you guys are liking this new setup, this new movement. There's no mic today, just a little wireless mic. But trust on the new, right? Keeping things going, keeping things moving, full send times 10. I love you guys. Like I said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of these talks. I love y'all. See you next week. As always, make it the best day ever.